Very pleased now to be joined by the one and only, the legendary. You know him, you love him. He is both the most positive and the most negative Dallas Cowboys fan who you will ever encounter, from the Austin American-Statesman. It is, I don't get to say this a lot, Blogging the Boys alum, Tony Catalina. Tony, thanks so much for hopping on over and stopping by your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, I mean, when you said, do you want to do this? It was the easiest yes. I think I said the quickest yes possible. So yeah, thanks for having me.
It is like old times. Obviously, it feels like a round table. And so in that respect, I have to ask you what the last thing you ate was. Whether we're recording on July the 1st and it's 10 a.m. Central Time, which is now your time zone. We'll get to that in a moment. So I don't know if you had breakfast. I'm not a big breakfast person myself. So maybe dinner last night, a snack, midnight snack, but last piece of food you put in your mouth.
Yeah, so it's a great. I had a fudgicle. How's that for a little late night snack? Had a little fudgicle, but yep, that's the last thing I put in my mouth, literally.
Okay. Well, I wasn't expecting that, but that's good to know. Okay, before we get into a bunch of Cowboys stuff, our podcast stuff is still in flux, but it all happened and then life changed for you. So an update for the YouTube people, because that's where this is out. What Tony Catalina is up to now, in case they haven't seen what you've been doing over the last, now I'm going to say 8 months ish.
10 months, believe it or not. Yeah.
Well, that was when you moved, if I recall. It was November-ish. So tell us about your life, what's going on, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so I mean, I've said this to you privately, publicly, like, I'm living my dream now, right? Simply put, I'm a sports writer full-time, and I've told you since the first day I met you, this is all I've ever wanted to do, and quite literally, I could not have achieved this without Blogging the Boys, right? This gave me the first platform, the first chance to write, to talk, the sports, period. Just kind of learn how to speak, say things on a microphone, and just from that point forward. So now I'm a full-time Texas A&M beat reporter for the Austin American-Statesman. I'm living in College Station, covering SEC sports, football, baseball, basketball. So I had to really up my game in other sports. But no, it's been amazing. My wife came down here. She works remote, so for her it was an easy transition, and it's been great. I mean, now I'm in Central Time. Like you said, we're in Texas. I'm loving it. It's really hot now, but I enjoy it when it's still like, 50, 60 in December, January. So I'm not mad at that.
Well, we're all very proud of you, myself and the rest of the staff and all of the audience. It's super cool to see you flying high and living your dream. We're rooting for you always and cheering you on. Not the best year to cover the non-football sports at Texas A&M, so it can't get any worse, I think. But, we've been saying that from a Cowboys perspective for a long time, and we have been wrong in many of those instances. I do just have to rub into you what I told you in a DM the other day. Tony posted this photo of himself like in full getup. Like, I mean, he had like a not a sombrero hat, but like one of those like bucket hats and like whatever. And I forget what the caption was. And he was like, "It's super hot." And when Tony moved down to Texas as a Texan through and through, in November or whatever it was, or October, he was like, "Oh, this isn't bad at all. Like, people are freaking out. Like, I don't know why everybody complains about it." We knew that your reckoning was coming, Tony. So you are being baptized this summer by the state of Texas.
It's so hot. And then, like, you think where I come from, like, the wind feels like relief in the summer. Mm-hmm. It's like a flamethrower, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when you get the hot air pushing at you, it's like, this is less enjoyable if it was just still air. So you are 100% right. It is hot, and I'm still not used to it, and I don't think I ever will be.
The bad news is it won't go away until like when you moved. You know what I mean? Like you think like, your traditional life, oh, the fall rolls around, like, I don't know, like September, you're like, oh, it starts to feel nice. No, not here. It takes a little bit longer for things to really cool off. We're just kind of beginning here on July 1st with the supremely hot weather. So good luck. But it looks like you're wearing a long sleeve, so you've clearly learned nothing.
We have central air here, so thank God for that.
Okay, so you were a longtime podcaster, YouTuber for us, obviously on the roundtables, 1st and 10 with Aiden, with Sturch way back when. But it's been a minute since you've been able to kind of offer your thoughts on the Cowboys in any kind of platform, behind a microphone, behind a camera. I always thought it's interesting how you're in front of a camera, but behind a microphone. You know what I mean? Like, that's funny. So that being said, overall thoughts on the Cowboys. Just, kind of let us see, you mentioned Central Air. Like, let's read your thermostat, like how you feel with the Cowboys at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, I wasn't expecting an offensive lineman in the first round. But when they took Tyler Booker, and you look at what he is and what he's, his leadership skills and how they talk about him from Alabama, and just the type of person he is, the attitude he is, you start to feel really excited about what that addition can be and what it can do. Because historically speaking, you look at the Cowboys offense teams, really, when they have a solid offensive line, they've been productive, they've been successful, they found ways to win football games. So when you take that and you realize, like, okay, like, it's not the shiny toy, but we have a guy that a lot of people have a lot of respect for, that excited me. And then, just like everybody else, when you get George Pickens to come in here and you say, okay, we have another legitimate wide receiver option, which we've been screaming about for years, and just having somebody like that can come in and, I don't know, what are the kids saying today? He's an on-field crash out, right? He's somebody who's unafraid to, ruffle some feathers. Now, if we can keep that controlled and under checked, I personally love that. I love a guy who plays with an edge. If it starts costing us, and we've seen it cost us with players in the past, that gets a little dicey. But overall, I think people coming into this offseason, as it's grown, and some of the moves they made and some of like the studying we do, because Cowboys fans have the best content creators in the NFL, in my opinion. So once they start breaking down the film and you talk about people and the pieces and Brian Schottenheimer and his demeanor and the way he's attacking and approaching this offseason, there is a lot to be positive and excited about.
So within all of this, let's see here. You started with Tyler Booker. One of my favorite things you ever said was that you've like dreamt or envisioned the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl while driving, and just like kind of let yourself get emotional, because I completely identify with that. Like I've done that before. And so that being said, have you allowed yourself to feel like this is Zach Martin in 2014, like the Tyler, like this is the kind of final piece? Because it's hard to not go there. We've all been burned way too many times, but it's still hard to not look at the hot stove and want to touch it. You know what I mean? It feels like I can't stop myself from doing it.
Yeah, this is like the first, like you mentioned, like one of the first times where I could take the analyst hat off and just be a fan and just like enjoy it. And I'm like, Tyler Booker's gonna be a Hall of Fame guy, right? Like this is so no, yeah, I've definitely had the chance to say, oh, this is gonna be a seamless transition. Martin leaves, he passes the torch, and we have another great one for a decade plus. So that definitely has crossed my mind.
So you also mentioned George Pickens. I don't know if you saw. I am also learning about the term crash out. I kind of crashed out, if I understand the term correctly. Like I was against it.
I remember.
Because of the off the field things. And I keep saying that I was against it, not to be annoying, but just so like I'm honest. I want to let people know, like, hey, like I'm rooting for it now, obviously, but like call me on, I will remind you when I was right, but I was, if this works out, I was wrong initially. That being said, my stance, and I'm sure you've seen then, is give him the contract extension now. Like, why are you waiting? Why, like we could sit here and talk about Micah and Dak and CD last year, whatever, and blah, blah. Why are you inviting this situation with George Pickens? Like the plan is for it to work. The goal that you did not trade for him for it to not work. So this, like, the same people who were like, oh, this is brilliant, whatever, and the front office is so dumb, are these same people are like, oh, well, he needs to prove it, and I want to see it. Why? Like that, your whole purpose in thinking it's an awesome trade is because you think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and to further that point, I know the money's vastly different, but they'll hang on to a guy like Jonathan Mingo too long, or a second or a third round trade.
Mingo catching strays. Interesting.
They'll trade those guys and be like, oh, we have him and we'll use him and we're going to use him and we have a future for him. But when you look at George Pickens, like, you have a guy who's a legitimate, not a 2, he's a 1A, 1B type of guy. You brought him in, you are, I mean, the way they treat their trade pieces and their draft picks, like, when you trade for this guy, you think that there's a future planned here. And I'm with you. Why would you wait? Like, let's figure it out. Let's get out in front of something for a change.
The last thing you brought up in your kind of just, status check was Brian Schottenheimer. Now, I don't like to speak for the fan base. I think that's a bit of a narcissistic thing to do. And I try not to be narcissistic. That being said, I'm going to speak for the entire fan base for a moment here. We were all down. Like the night they hired him, that Friday night, was dark. I mean, and we've had some dark days and moments. I would offer that, and I don't know if you agree, it was a darker collective moment than halftime against the Packers in the wild card round. Like the the vibe was even lower. And for some reason, we have boomeranged so hard back. And I'm not trying to be negative. And I was talking to Sean Shreve about this. People can go watch that on the channel. This happened for no real reason. And I don't mean that, because there are some things, but it's really just he's been talking, and that's both cool, but also kind of, are we this susceptible that we can just have somebody come saw the woman in half and be like, wow, I kind of think that's what's happening here. And I'm not trying to discredit him, because I buy what he's saying, but is it Cowboys fans being Cowboys fans? Because I think that very often Cowboys fans get painted in this light that isn't truly representative of who they are. Like it's our year, we them boys. Like, nobody acts like that. But it is kind of Cowboys fans-ish to just be all the way in before training camp even starts.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing really tangible to sit here and say, like, this is definitively going to work out, right? Like, it's like you said, and I think many people have said he's going to win the press conference. He's going to win the public opinion. He's a great speaker. He's a team-friendly guy. He's somebody that the players enjoy working for. But yeah, like, they're really... I think it just comes, it might be this time of year, right? Where people see like Brian Schottenheimer, they're excited for football. It's been a long time that the Cowboys have played like meaningful football, right? It's been a year and a half since they played meaningful football. So when you see Brian Schottenheimer and like, oh man, Micah Parsons shows up when he doesn't have to. And it's like they're bought in, and they're like, the scheme is going to work. But I'm with you in the sense that like, it's like a tempered optimism, because I understand he's a first-year head coach. He's never had a chance to this point to lead his own group, and there are going to be some things that we're going to have to figure out and what's it look like. But yeah, no, this fan base is ready to believe in something. I think Brian Schottenheimer just being a slick talker might be one of them.
It kind of feels like I know you went home recently. I guess that was your first time back, like, since you moved, and I'm sure like your first time at some restaurant was like the food was like amazing or whatever, and it was probably pretty good, but not like as amazing as it felt to you, just because of the experience and the drought that you'd had, so to speak.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's so funny. Like, I was so pumped up to go home, and it's a great analogy, because you eat the food and you're like, I remember this, I'm going to my favorite Italian restaurant, and then like we came back and we're like, I think the food in College Station might be a little better. So.
No, that's I don't mean to you already threw a stray on Jonathan Mingo, but there's this place in I don't live in San Antonio anymore, but kind of like that. It's a place called J. Alexander. I don't know if you've ever been to one. And when we stopped there, like, we used to love it in San Antonio. Now it's like, this is okay. Like it's not like amazing. This is a very quick segue, but this just happened. I don't know if you've seen this breaking news. There's a trade in the NFL. So here we go. The New York Giants, Tony, are finalizing a trade with the Miami Dolphins, and the Giants are sending Darren Waller, who is coming out of retirement. So no Luke Schoonmaker to Miami, which a lot of people thought could be the situation.
Well, I mean, of all the things that I thought might have happened during us recording that wasn't one of them.
It is the Brian Schottenheimer thing is funny. He's very cool. I think that, and I argued this a lot, I thought that Mike McCarthy was very charming. I think that people had decided that he, whether they were jaded because he was the dude who threw the flag to challenge Des Bryant's catch, or they viewed him as some oaf, or Aaron Rodgers said he sucked. Like, the man started behind the eight ball for a lot of people, and just never was able to overcome that, despite a lot of on-field success. And so I've let it go, but I do feel like people are like, oh, McCarthy sucked last year. Like, we can all be adults, and we can all recognize that I would offer they sabotaged him last year. Like, it was a disaster in terms of what happened. I don't mean to relitigate it, but because you haven't had a chance to speak on anything, what bothered you the most last year? It can be anything. It can be the front office. It can be Jerry fighting with the host on the fan, the Sun, Dak getting hurt. Maybe it's a lot of these things, but what's stuck in your craw throughout 2024?
I think the Mike McCarthy thing was right. I think he came in as a lame duck, and it just never felt confident, right? Like, the injury, obviously, Dak Prescott was kind of, for lack of a better term, the nail in the coffin, right? Like, we knew the season wasn't going to be what we had hoped it was, but when you see the way it was handled and the way Jerry was acting, and you just felt like the writing was on the wall. So it just, and we had talked about it, and I put my foot in my mouth a few times where like I wanted the 49ers in the playoffs and I was wrong. And then but
Yeah.
like you always felt like with Mike McCarthy on solid ground, the Cowboys had a fighting chance. Right. Like, I mean, 3 straight 12-win seasons, you knew you were going to be a dog in the fight. That just never felt like it was a thing this past year. It just, the injuries and the uncertainty and the CD Lamb and, just trying to figure out contracts and why do they do what we know they're going to do every time, even though everybody knows they shouldn't handle it the way they do. And so there was a lot to feel negative about. And then you look at the way the Packers game ended in the playoffs. It's been constant just negativity over the last like 2 years, year and a half. It's been really tough.
Yeah, I think I have told a few Packers fans this in the year and a half now. Like, it has to be so sad because I think you agree that loss broke the Cowboys. And they're still putting themselves back together. Now I don't know what I chalk it up to. I don't know if I believe. I think it was super dumb to say like, oh, they're just setting him up to fail. What, they could fire him. Like that was always super dumb to me. Like, why would they have to set him up? They could, and whatever. I mean, it just, if I had to throw it all under like one umbrella, it would be the like gaslighting. I mean, because it was constant gaslighting, constant, like whether it was gaslighting McCarthy or All In or the Dak CD deals, like it was just, it lived up. It was being as toxic as possible. Like it felt toxic from day one. The only moment of reprieve was week 1 against the Browns. They beat that team, and Kevontae Turpin, who helped put you on the map, I think, that interview quote you had with him back before the Super Bowl. That moment, that day was awesome. And because the Dak deal was done and everything, and then it just like the Saints loss happened, and then the Ravens destroyed them. Like, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I still think McCarthy kind of made some chicken salad out of it. Like the wins they had with Cooper Rush, and I think that we're kind of like, people are so quick to throw away Andy because Buzz Lightyear is here. You know what I mean? And they forget, like, they're all over themselves and I'm not trying to hate on Brian Schottenheimer, but remember, like, Mike McCarthy slammed watermelons and everybody thought that was dumb. Like, every Brian Schottenheimer thing is kind of that variety. It's just, like, these things, it's cyclical, and so that in that way, I feel like I'm going crazy a little bit.
No, I mean, he wears the backwards hat. He's got the visor on.
Backwards visor, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Dan Quinn wearing the Jordans. Like, he just,
Chris Richard in the cleats. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You're looking for something to relate to enjoy, because there's nothing tangible on the football field. You can sit here and say like Brian Schottenheimer is going to do X because his resume tells you, why. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't match up. And I think he can be. I mean, he's proven to coach some good offenses. He's proven to be a great leader, but can he do it as a head coach? And I don't think anybody can literally have that answered just yet. So what Mike McCarthy, like you said, you had a team that fought for him. You had backup quarterbacks come in and make you competitive. It didn't go the way you wanted to. You had 3 12-win seasons. I mean, I'm not the type of person that likes change for the sake of change, but I can get on board with it if we have to. And I think in this sense that maybe he overstayed his welcome, whether that be with Jerry or the fan base or whatever the case. Maybe he just didn't want to be here, right? And maybe he was tired of dealing with the circus that is the Cowboys. And so, it's just, there were a lot of things last year that made you say, like, for the first time in my like fandom, I'm just like, man, I'm like fatigued. Yeah. This is exhausting. So, I think maybe some of the fan base agrees with me. And that's why Brian Schottenheimer and his perception is a breath of fresh air. And maybe that's why they're buying into it right now.
You kind of segued me perfectly. What I was going to ask you was, and I put the schedule on the screen just to kind of refresh your mind. What was that point where you, you're not the type of person that I think ever truly was like all these people who are like, I stopped watching BS. Like, there's no way you stopped watching. But like, what was the point where you were like, you had a different emotion, you had a different, belief, maybe you had a different, hey, this is fun, I'm here, but like I know that this is no big deal. Like I think for some people it was maybe Baltimore, or after Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence got hurt. Maybe, I don't know, but what was the point for you where things changed, is the best way to ask that, I guess.
It's funny. It may be a little later than some, and it may be too early for others. But I was in the building for the Detroit Lions game, and that was like one of the toughest things I've ever had to digest. Right?
Well, hold up. You covered that game. Let's brag
So
on that a little bit. Yeah.
I covered the Eagles game,
Okay.
which
My
was, yeah, no, you're good. I mean, that wasn't anything to write home about either. So, but so I was my last ticket that I've bought as a patron, as a fan of any sporting event, was the Detroit Lions dismantling, right? Where they were literally, wiping in Skipper the whole time just to make fun of the Cowboys. And I'm sitting there with my wife and I'm like, this is like uncompetitive football. This is just not like, this is not fun. I'm sorry. I was like apologizing to her, and like, I apologize. Like, we drove in from College Station, which was like a 2.5 hour ride, like, I'm sorry. And then to cover the Eagles game and to see DeMarvion Overshown play so well and then get hurt, and then everything that's come from that, it's just like there were so many like micro moments that just turned into a massive, like, man, I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
You brought up the Lions game, and not relative to not caring, but thinking about that game to me was like a good microcosm of how the national, not only media, but like non-Cowboys fans like dunk on the Cowboys relative to how we do. Because like the Lions were like, look, we ran our offensive lineman play, and we were like, okay, like this team sucks. Like we don't care. Like you're not hurting us. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, you're saying they haven't won the Super Bowl in forever. Like, cool. Like we hate them more than you do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and that was what that Lions game felt like. I think the Eagles one is a good one because that was the sun like on a different level. And the Eagles also like blasting them. And I think we all felt like it didn't bother me at all that the Eagles destroyed them. It was like, well, okay. And like I even worked the Super Bowl, and when they won, I was like, they're really good. Like I still really hate them, but like it was like they're really good. I mean, I can square this logically. So yeah. Okay. This is a different question, kind of a twist on that. That being said, what have you been waiting to get off your chest? Because you have a cut of tweets that I like where you can tell that you've had enough, and you're like, all right, look, I have to say this to you all, whatever the subject matter is. So I know there's something, whether it be positive or negative, that you're like, I've seen this around a lot. Again, not trying to toss any strays, not trying to subtweet anybody. But what is something that you're like, I disagree with this?
That's a great question. I know you said you didn't set me up, so I'm trying to think here.
I'll give you some time to think, because I think, mine would be that people are like, oh man, McCarthy sucked. He didn't suck. He's the greatest coach they've had, in the entire drought. He's better than Parcells, obviously better than Garrett. Like he's done different things, and we also still forget the way they waited the first week of the offseason and did nothing and costed themselves the chance to interview the Lions coordinators and the Chiefs coordinators. And I don't know if this vamping is enough for you to get an answer. If you're
okay. Yeah, good. No, you're good. So you know how it is at Blogging the Boys. If you write anything positive about Dak Prescott, the comments are going to be ferocious, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, and you got Jaden Daniels, and you got Jackson Dart coming in New York, and you got, Jalen Hurts just winning the Super Bowl. I still think that Dak Prescott is probably the main guy in the NFC East. I mean, if you want to have that conversation, I know the injuries have stacked up at this point. I know he's somebody who's, going into his 9th, 10th season, still hasn't won a Super Bowl, hasn't really sniffed one. This Cowboys team is a winning football team when he's healthy and available. He's never had a losing season. I believe that stat's still correct when he's fully healthy. Like, I'm still banging on the table saying that Dak Prescott is a guy who can get it done, right? We've seen quarterbacks in the past win late in their career. We've seen quarterbacks finally get that monkey off their back. I don't see anything about Dak Prescott that has swayed me off of that feeling. I've always been an optimistic, Dak apologizer, if some people want to say that, but I still think the Cowboys have one of the premier quarterbacks in the division. I don't care who comes in.
I think like if we were at a bar and with Eagles fans and they were to be like, well, Hurts has the Super Bowl, we'd be like, okay. And we would like stop talking. Like,
Right.
just like
Yeah.
it exists as like a trump card and you simply can't. Now we can have like a nuanced discussion where we can say, and there will be people who comment like, y'all are crazy, blah, blah. Like I would rather have Dak Prescott, whatever. I think there's some ball knowers who feel that way. And this isn't a slide on Jalen Hurts, but his team is obviously very good. Like again, if you're just talking about who has the Super Bowl, it's obviously Jalen Hurts. Tony and I aren't going to disagree with that. But I think you can make an argument that Dak is still, and this is really more reflective of the conference, but the best quarterback in the NFC. Like if you again in the nuanced way, you mentioned the NFC East, but the contenders, if you will, are Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, who took a dip. Like Jordan Love, but there are several players who like have a legend because they destroyed the Cowboys, and that could be Jordan Love. Like the man, cashed in and good for him, but he might never ever reach what they did in that playoff game. That being said, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's there's an argument that he's the best. Now, I would offer the injuries are concerning, and I think you have to have a discussion about whether he's injury prone. It's unfortunate; these are different injuries, but I don't think we're being fair if we don't have that discussion. That being said, when he's on, he's on. I mean, the man, finished second in MVP voting 2 years ago, arguably should have won it, and now has maybe the best 1-2 pass catching combination he's ever had in his career, and played for a team that sabotaged itself last year.
Right. I mean, yeah, like, and it's an interesting case study. I don't have to tell you because you know this as well as anybody. Like, you look at Jaden Daniels 1 year, all of a sudden he's the NFL's next great, and then CJ Stroud the next great. But you see what Dak Prescott does, loses an MVP race 2 years. He probably should have won statistically and didn't get it, and then they cast away him like he's nobody, like he's nothing, like he's not capable. And then you look at in an overarching view of the Cowboys as a franchise, and you look at so many other teams that haven't won Super Bowls in the longer time frame as them, but they're the butt of the joke. So when you look at Dak Prescott, he doesn't get looked at in the same prism as some of these other teams, other quarterbacks. He's always getting like disrespected on an aggressive level when the nuanced conversation that you can have is like, yeah, this is a quality quarterback. When he's on, he's one of the best in the league. When he's injured, the team crumbles. And yeah, he's injury prone, and he's proven that staying on the field is a feat for him that he has to overcome. But when he's out there, like, the Cowboys have a fighting punches chance against anybody. And I just feel like that conversation gets lost on a national scale and maybe just not enough in our own fan base.
Yeah, I like a drum I've been beating for a few months now is I don't know what their win total is at this moment, but it was 7.5 when I started kind of talking about this, and it's like, what? Like, and again, like the nuance is I'm not telling you they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I am telling you that if Dak Prescott stays healthy, they will easily win. They will hit the over because they always do, and it's kind of like look, I will hate on I will be first in line to hate on the Cowboys. They do something dumb, like get behind me. I will be the first to hold their feet to the fire on that. That being said, though, something else that bothers me from Cowboys fans, to your point, is they'll be like, oh, they've been doing this for 30 years. Like, let's be clear, they've been very successful. They and something I say often is like they have just had like their like 5 worst days on like the 5 worst possible days, and that has shaped unfortunately some serious things. But they have been incredibly successful. Like, but prior to last year, they had won, more games over the, previous 3-year stretch than anybody. They were tied with the Chiefs for the most regular season wins. They had won more than the Bills and the Niners and the Eagles. And at that time, none of those teams had won the Super Bowl. But to your point, it's like, oh, but the Cowboys suck. They're the losers, blah, blah, blah. Like, what has Buffalo ever done? You know what I mean? But it's like, but because they haven't done anything, it's cute, like that they're trying and they come close. So I agree with all of that. I think that they are not, contextualized fairly, and that's just what comes with the dinner. I like that. I would offer is similar to Texas A&M or Alabama. Like, you can make the case geographically for certain areas or certain teams or whatever. It's just that's part of being the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, that's the gift and the curse, right? Like, you see that you get this Netflix documentary that everybody's going to watch and everybody's going to consume it and they're going to enjoy it. And they're going to have Emmett and Troy and Michael, and it's going to be great stories. It's going to be great content. But it really is, the brand is what hurts them a lot of the times, right? Because people get fatigued, and then you realize we don't want to see the Cowboys. Other fan bases, we're tired of the Cowboys. Like, no, you can stop it, right? If you stop talking about it, it might help, So it's just that, and it kind of trickles down to Dak Prescott, and you get fatigued about Dak, but Dak's not a bad guy. He's never been a bad guy in any, whether it's on the field, off the field. Walter Payton, Man of the Year. This is a guy that most people would champion, right? In most cases, if he was in any other uniform, he'd be a champion quarterback in this league. But instead, we're sitting here got to defend his honor like annually.
If he was in any other uniform, he probably wins MVP in 2023. Like,
right.
To your point, it is a handicap in a lot of ways. He is great at everything. I tweeted this out last weekend. I'm sure you saw that he did a video with Good. Did you see this?
I did. That was cool.
Did you watch the whole video or just the clip?
I watched about half of it. I had to put a stamp in it, but yeah.
You got busy. It's okay to say. It's okay to say you lost interest. It's all right. But that being said, he's a horrible golfer. Like, I will, be straight up about that. Will Grier, though, not bad. I mean, not Will Grier, he's got some game. So also, this is the kind of topic that I have one more prompt, but now that we're here, I wanted to tweet this, but like, again, it would have lost some nuance. I think this is fair. So for anyone who doesn't know, Good, like one of the most popular golf, YouTubers in the game, and they play rounds with people. They played around with Dak, Will Grier, and Tad Prescott, Dak's brother. And so it was 3-on-3, whatever. My hot take is Will Grier is definitely making this roster because he's boys with Dak. Like, and I don't mean to minimize Will Grier, but like, he's doing this video, like he's clearly that tight with Dak. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I don't know if you agree. I don't know if you disagree. And it makes sense to carry 3 quarterbacks anyway. But like, Will Grier is not going anywhere is my point. Like, this kind of helped. This was the last, like, like a thread that tied the lock that was already on the door, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think people like yourself who are so like entwined with this team and the moves, and you understand how they operate. When the quarterback is good friends with somebody and they value that family connection in the room, and they always talk about camaraderie, like, and I believe I don't have it like factually in front of me, but I believe that Dak has always been like a champion for Will Grier, even when he's left and come back, and he's always been that guy for him. So I don't think you're off base at all.
Do you not remember? Because it was a minute ago now. When they traded for Trey Lance, they traded for Trey the night before the final preseason game. And if you recall that final preseason game, Dak called the plays.
Yes.
And Will Grier played. And you could tell in his first presser that it had nothing to do with Trey, but he was, pretty pissed because Cooper Rush was still on the team. So this meant, the Will Grier was on the outs. So yeah, I'm with you in that respect. Okay. Last one. These have all been kind of negatively slanted. So if this could be positive for you,
love it.
That's up to you. But how has your opinion changed the most in the last year? And again, that can be like, I thought they were like horrible, or I thought they were good, and now I think the opposite. But because it's been so long since you've had some opportunity to talk here at Blog of the Boys, I'm just curious for you look back at 2024, Tony, and you're like, that dude sucked. I can't believe he thought this.
Yeah, so it's when you look at this team, like I said, we've talked about the negativity from the Green Bay Packer game on. It's just been like a downward slide of just like not great. It's just not been good. So to see a team now, this fan base is notorious for anybody who is available, even rumored to be available, is getting attached to the Cowboys, and then you get your hopes up and it never happens. It's got to the point where like you're not even like most seasoned people don't even discuss it. But the George Pickens thing, when that actually happened, we're like, oh, like this feels different, right? Like, like the biggest win in the last year and a half was the George Pickens trade. So now you got people saying, okay, like this could be like better than it ever was with Michael Gallup. This could be better than the brief moment when T.Y. Hilton was here catching bombs on Eagles. Like it just George Pickens. And then you look at the fit, right? We're talking just beyond fan base. Like the George Pickens with Dak Prescott is like the most perfect match made in heaven guy there is. Put him on the other side with CeeDee Lamb. And that's like where the positivity comes in for me. Like this is an offense that can be those Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb early year offenses. Now, the running back room is something that's going to have to be sorted out, and I feel like that's been the narrative the last couple of years. But this offensive group can be exciting. I think that the offensive line has stuff to prove. I know Tyler Guyton knows his first year wasn't what he wanted to be. He's dedicated to that and how that shakes out. And Tyler Booker, like we said, is an exciting piece. So, I mean, in defense, you go to the defensive side, there's just so much, I think, just intrigue about this team that could go in a positive manner. I think everyone's used to it being so negative, but this team has talent. I think people forget that sometimes they have talent, they have players, they have pieces that can make things happen. And I'm excited for it. I think for the first time in a while, I felt like a little like spark when I thought of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. So, and maybe that's the Pickens thing.
That's hope is a dangerous thing, and it sounds like you have some. I think to answer, first of all, I think your answer is very good. I think the George Pickens thing, if anything, was the first time they were the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like people love to be like, "Oh, Jerry will trade for him," when we're all like, "No, he won't." Like, do you not know anything about this team? But like the George Pickens trade was the first time they were like, "Oh, troubled wide receiver." Yeah, here's our third round pick right now, and he needs a jersey number. Marquise Bell, Dante Fowler. Yeah, you got to go. Like, you got to change this right now. And so again, it's very classic Cowboys in that sense. I mean, and this is the one position where they will make a splash. Obviously, trading for Jonathan Mingo, if you call that a splash. Amari, Roy Williams, signing T.O. Like, this is the one. This is their vice. You know what I mean? And so, but to answer my own question, something that I feel like this has been a long offseason. Like, there's a lot that's happened, and which has been fun and cool. But the DeMarcus Lawrence thing, when he left, everybody got so offended. And it was so silly and dumb, and for obvious reasons. But one of the coolest things, like you said, like the best thing that has happened to the team in the last whatever was the trade for George Pickens. One of the coolest things that same stretch was Micah being like, "Nah, hell no." Like, and I'm gonna say something about this, and Osa, and like, that was kind of cool. Like, when was the last time they not stood up for themselves, but like stood up for, you know, the logo or the name on their chest, or whatever, you know, adage you want to use. Like, that was, I used to think, and I would imagine you feel very similar. During Dak and Zeke's rookie year, I remember thinking like, okay, these guys are too good. Like, there's no way they don't walk away with one during their time together. That clearly did not happen. I do kind of feel that way about Micah. Like, Micah is a different cut, and even the way he's handling his contract stuff, I think is somewhat proof of that. But that Micah was like, "Nah, dude, you're just a loser." You know, I'm paraphrasing here. It's kind of cool. Like, it kind of jazzed the fan in me up. Like, that is really cool that he will stand up. And that, because I talked about this with Sky Steele. We love Dak. That's not Dak's thing. Dak is not, you know, and even when Dak tries to talk trash, it's kind of lame. Like, let's be honest. But Micah, like, is the dude in the center of the huddle, you know, at the front of the line, you know, rallying the troops up for battle. I thought that was kind of cool. And I don't feel like they had, I hate to call it that dog or whatever, but they didn't really have that whatever you want to call it. And now I'm excited. I don't hate DeMarcus Lawrence, but I'm excited for his departure because it opens the door for that guy to be the senior on campus, so to speak.
Yeah, and when you look at it, like DeMarcus Lawrence, which I'm glad you brought up, because I didn't forget about that, but like I put it in the back of my mind. Like, it was, I thought it was one of the lamest things ever. Like, you just, you know, like, you say that when you're leaving out the door, like you're defending this, like, you know, this star, you're defending this team, and then as soon as you leave, you're like, I'm just like everybody else. And I think what Micah is doing is what, like, a lot of this younger generation is they're not going to take the BS just because you're older, right? Like, okay, I don't care that you were, you know, older than me and you've been here longer. Like, that's whack. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to do that. And I think that you can really appreciate that. And you're right, on an actual leadership scale, let's Micah take over and be that guy. And his, you know, demeanor and the way he attacks football. We have said this on countless roundtables where, like, this guy is, you know, he's different. Like, he's just built different. But the thing that scares me is I felt the same way about Zach Martin. I'm like, this guy's got to leave with one, right? You know what I mean? And there's been Jason Witten. He's got to leave with one. And Romo has to have one. And, you know, there's so many people that in our lifetime of being a fan, we're like, man, it's just not right in the world if this guy doesn't lift one Lombardi trophy. So I'm gun shy in that sense, but I really would love to see Micah Parsons be the guy who kind of breaks that mold.
Somebody has to be Frodo. And I know you haven't seen Lord of the Rings because
No,
you haven't seen anything.
nothing.
But you understand the premise. Somebody has to deliver the ring, and in more ways
Let it
than
be
one,
Micah.
obviously. Yeah. Micah is the most like anti-Frodo you can think of, in terms of size and stature. But okay, so very last thing, not Cowboys related, unless you want it to be. You've been an official Texan for almost a year now, living in College Station. There's a lot to do there, obviously. Best foods, vibes, things as an official Texan. I know you and your wife, you've bounced around, you've done some vacationing, things like that. So it could be as chalk as the barbecue is really good. The weather's really hot. Like, again, just life as a Texan. Floor is yours.
Yeah, so it's been let me just start with like the sappy answer. Everyone down here has been super nice. Like everybody I've encountered has been really cool, really accepting. They make fun of my accent a lot, but I'm used to that at this point. But no, everyone's been great. Everyone's super welcoming. I will say one of the coolest things, and like you probably know this, and everyone in Texas be like, yeah, duh. But that Texas 50, like the whole when they list out the 50 best barbecue spots in the state of Texas, and being able to map out like where I'm gonna go, because I went to a place called Style Switch in Austin, and it was literally like blew my mind how good it was. And then to find out it's not even within the top 50, I got like nervous. I'm like, I'm like, how could it be better than this? Like how could it be better? Like I don't know anything better than this. So yes, I went chalk with the food, the people. I mean, I do love the weather. I mean, I'm taking, scorching hot and I'm trading that instead of having a foot of snow. So
100%.
I'll take that. And, but no, it's been great. And like I said at the beginning, I'm going to say it again. I would literally not be here if it wasn't for you, Dave Halpern, and Blogging the Boys. So forever indebted to you guys.
You rock, Tony. We'll be cheering you on. As we were recording, I saw the Texas A&M football account tweeted out their dudes, the Aggies players rankings in college football 26. So there's something for you to get on today. Road trip you're most looking forward to for the Aggies this fall?
Ooh, probably the first one, Notre Dame. I'm excited.
Wow.
Never been. Night game, Notre Dame. It's gonna be sick.
If only it was gonna that's one place I would like there to be a foot of snow. You know what I mean? Like that would add to the that was the first playoff game, right? Their game against Indiana. Like that was the very first that was sick. Like just like how cold it was. But it'll be hot and sweaty and feel horrible. But yeah, going to South Bend. Tony, Catalina, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Just hopefully if they do what we hope they can do, bring me back on a year from now and we can talk about it again. But hopefully, I think you'll be one of my first text messages, RJ. They win the Super Bowl and be like, I can't believe they did it, man. There'll probably be a lot more swears in it, but still.
We both, like, again, for anyone who doesn't know, everybody should follow Tony. He's the man. Like when you said that, I've literally done that. Like I've been on a road trip, like driving, whatever, and just let the right song come on and let my mind wander and like welled up and thought like what that moment would feel like. So I actually think that moment I think we would like be catatonic. Like maybe we wouldn't feel emotion because it would just be so like kind of frozen and paralyzed. And like, how do we process this?
It's one of those things where like I never thought about getting to this moment and what it would feel like. I don't even know what to do with my hands now. You know what I mean?
An expression I love is like the dog never thought he'd catch the car. You know what I mean? Like the dog's like, okay, now what? Like I got the mailman. Like what? Like what's next? So we all just like to bark. Tony, you're the man, and paisanos for life.
Paisanos.